All right, let's talk about contacts because this is going to be an important part about EveryChat, not just from the standpoint of understanding who's reaching out to you, but also giving EveryChat the ability to start organizing information by that contact profile. So organizing information like texts, emails, form submissions, or even notes and to-dos. As that data starts to be pulled into EveryChat, we will organize that and put or associate that data with that client profile. So maybe as you're on the phone with a customer or a lead, you can pull up their client profile and see everything on one screen. So you're not having to bounce between different channels, different tabs, trying to find that information and trying to keep tabs of that information, because especially as you're on the phone with somebody, you might want to create notes as you're talking to them. You can pull up that client screen and start creating notes and to-dos right from that screen. And I will show you how that stuff works here in just a second. So the goal of this video is I'm going to show you two things. One, how do you add contacts? And then two, what does the contact screen look like in the product and what can you do? So let's talk about adding contacts first. So to add a contact, you have two methods. You can either add them individually by clicking create a contact, and then you can add their information manually. This is going to be more after you're set up with EveryChat. You just need to add somebody new. But as you're getting set up with EveryChat, what most people are going to do is they are going to click import contacts and then import a file with their list. So as long as you have an XLSX file or a CSV file organized by columns, and I'll show you what that XLS or CSV file looks like so that EveryChat recognizes what each column is about. Because what it's going to be looking for is their first name, last name, email, phone number, and then some basic information about like address, billing information, or better said, billing or work phone, that sort of thing. As long as your file includes that information organized like such, which I will explain here in just a second, you can import that data and pull in a ton of contacts in a single import. So the way that the importer is organized, it's just going to be asking you for the basic information about the file and then how we should classify these contacts as they're coming in. So you'll specify the file itself, the file type itself. Then you'll click the file and add that to the system or add that to the importer. And then from here, it's all about just classification. So what is the type of contact that you're importing? Do we need to assign tags to these contacts as you're bringing them into the system? Right now, I don't have any tags, but if you do want to add more tags, you can just, or add tags in general, you can click add new tag. It's going to display a pop-up, and then you can add a bunch of tags, which then you can assign to those contacts that you're importing. Because tags are going to be a big part about how you organize and build lists. Otherwise, it's just going to be a large amount of contacts in the system, not really organized by any key criteria. Of course, you can search for them by address, by email, by phone number. You can find contacts without tags, but tags are going to be important if you plan on using text campaigns, because tags are going to be how you build lists and target groups of your customers, groups of your leads, and send them messages. So from that point, if you use tags, you'll pick the tag here. Otherwise, the last option that you just need to specify is whether or not we need to overwrite existing contacts. And this is going to be important, especially as you use tagging, because if a contact already exists in the system and they're coming in again in your import file, this will tell us whether we assign that new tag to them or we update some of the information on their account if that information doesn't already exist. Or if you set it to no, we will just ignore them and we'll leave the contact in EveryChat as is, and we won't update them. So basically what this is asking is, do we update the contact if they already exist? Or if you set it to no, should we just ignore them? And that's what no represents. So let me pause the video real fast. I'm going to pull up an import file and show you exactly how this needs to be organized so that your import file correctly brings the data in, and then EveryChat can correctly associate it to the fields so we can build your contacts. Okay, so here's an import file, and this is going to be really important to get right, because if any of these column names get formatted incorrectly, EveryChat won't understand what that column is about, and then you might be missing information in your import. Now, the order of such, or the order of these columns, does not matter. You can have cell phone at the very end, and you can have first name in the middle. It doesn't matter. The order of columns, it will not impact your import in any way. It's just going to be how the column names are formatted from that standpoint. So the rule of thumb is just capitalize the first letter of each word and remove the space. So you can kind of see cell phone, no space, capital C, capital P, first name, no space, capital F, capital N, and then you will just replicate that format for every other column name. So physical city, physical address, this might represent their home address, and then, or their home or property address, better said. And then billing address is going to be the address associated with their card, and then you'll have some additional phone numbers that you can import as well. But otherwise, that's your primary information that you're going to be importing. So cell phone is going to be critical. This is a required field to make sure that these people are textable and they have a valid contact method. And then email is also it's not required, but it's going to be also an important piece of information if you have it in your import, so that we can use that information in your email feature as well. If we have cell phone, they will be accessible in your texting feature. If we have email, they will be accessible in the email feature. So that's going to be the core understanding of how the import file works. The main thing is just ensuring that everything's formatted like this, so we know where to associate data and how to build out your contact profile. So that's the gist there. What we will do now is we will create it real fast. We'll create a contact, and we will take a look at the contact screen. Now, of course, I'm not going to have any information in this account, but I can at least show you what it's going to look like, and we can dig into that account, and you can get a feeling for how it works. So what I've opted to do instead, rather than creating a new contact and looking at an empty profile, I actually pulled up one of my other accounts to get a more realistic view of what your contact profile would look like after there's a bunch of data in it. Because it's going to give you, of course, the best representation as to how this works. So this is a contact profile. So if I had created a contact and we've been sending messages back and forth and I've been tagging them and creating notes, this is going to be how the contact profile looks and is laid out. So at the top, you're going to have your basic contact information, the tags that are associated to that contact. And then in addition to that, you have some basic actions, or quick actions, better said. You can text them from here. You can email them. You can call them. You can send a review invitation. You can do all of that here from the contact screen. But as you scroll down a little bit further, you're going to find even more information about this individual. So notes are going to be used for just keeping information on their account that you need to remember for next time. Maybe you were on the phone with somebody and you were jotting down notes. This is going to be where you do it. You would just pull up their contact screen, click add a note, and you would start jotting down those notes as you're on the phone with them so you don't forget this information. It just keeps you more professional, more organized, and you can, basically create an extension to help you, just remember more information without having to try and remember, and then the next customer calls and then you forget it all, basically. So this is going to be a great way of organizing that information. Then you can create to-dos. It's the same concept as, say, we could use this for the same example where somebody calls you and you need to organize things based on that call as notes or to-dos. To-dos are a great thing where you can, of course, associate these to-do items for the customer. Of course, these aren't going to be things that the customer has to do. These are things that you need to do for that customer. So as you're on the phone with them, you can click create a to-do, and then that's going to let you say, new to-do as an example. And then from there, you will just associate that to the contact here. So I might type in my name, if I can spell my name, and then I can assign that to another team member here. But then it's just putting down basic information about that to-do, and then you can set up a to-do reminder so that you don't forget if it's something that you need to do in the future. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause one more time, and I'm going to find a more realistic example of this conversation history down there. This is just a testing account, and I want to find something with a bunch of different conversations going on, texting, email, forms, just to give you a better idea of what that looks like. Okay, so here's an example of the timeline. Now, just keep in mind, again, this is a testing account, so not the most realistic data here, but I can at least show you what this timeline is doing. Because what this timeline is effectively designed to do is bring all of your communication into one list. So as you're on the phone with somebody, you don't have to go to your inbox and then click between a bunch of different channels to see what the last thing was that either that customer sent to you or you sent to the customer. What you would do is you would go to their timeline, And then you could scroll through here and see every text, email, review, form, phone call, Facebook message, everything that was sent and received between your team and that customer in one timeline. And you see the full exchange over, however long you've had that customer, you've been communicating with that customer, you'll see it all in a single timeline. So this has just made a lot of companies' lives a lot easier, because as you're on the phone with somebody, as you are dealing with an issue that maybe they reached out to you about, instead of bouncing between and trying to search a ton of different channels, a ton of different email subjects, just all of these different places where data is scattered, the communication timeline will organize it all for you and give you one spot to look to find that information that you need. So this was an example of how you import data into EveryChat, how you create contacts, and then also what the contact screen looks like, so you know how to work with it, you know what features are available, and you can effectively work with your team and contacts to run a more efficient and effective business without having to start from scratch, because we can import all of that contact data, so you're starting from where your business left off.